We're live.
Good morning, Joseph 11. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Wherever you're tuning in from, whatever time of day it is undoubtedly Throughput Thursday, and we're back. Joseph, nice
We're
background.
back. Yeah, this is the old background. Old for me. I guess it's probably new for most of the viewers. I think I've taken we've done one episode from here, but this is my old studio.
Did we?
Yeah, I think once.
I'm trying to remember.
It
It
was
would have
literally
been
the last time I was here for the same reason I'm here for.
okay, so probably this time
A year
last
ago.
year in that
Yeah.
case. Chat, how we doing? Askell 9, very Askell's 9, uh very I don't have words today. Askell's 9 notices that we are not in the studio. Yes, you are correct. We are not in the studio today.
Very
We're doing a
observant.
yeah, we're doing a little remote episode. Mirth Mono in the chat, Diego Voss, welcome. Kazakil asks when Mega ETH merch. You ain't gonna get it here, Kazakil, but maybe you'll get some Monad merch. That's pretty cool.
What? Who asked that?
Kazak Kazaki. Oh, there's no L on the end. Kazaki.
Ah,
Nice.
speaking of merch, Soul Sal got her merch pack and posted about it.
Heck yeah. Soul
She's
Sal
she's
in the chat.
yeah, she said she was gonna post about her letter today.
Yeah, sometimes you get a nice little custom letter with the merch pack. I see Diego Voss asking category
Category
merch
merch.
when. That is a good question. I have the same exact question. I would love some category merch. I saw Tunes rocking a very sweet category pullover recently. And I also
Did he
saw
have the one that has the stitching that is like kind of textured?
yeah, it was textured a little bit like this except it had
Yeah,
a
yes,
hood on.
bigger, a bit bigger pattern. Yeah, really cool. How did he get
Yeah,
one?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, but he did, and I'm jealous. Keone has a sweet like quarter zip style like this, but a little bit thicker. Category Labs on it. I don't know what we're
That's the
doing.
one that I was actually
Um,
referring to, that one.
oh, okay. Tunes has like a hoodie type deal. I don't know. The Category Labs merch is pretty darn cool. So I
But
don't know.
we also
Chat
have some
chat wants some
pretty
merch.
I would say Annie is killing it on the merch. I
Oh,
don't
for
know if
sure.
we're allowed to say, but she yeah, she went and visited the actual manufacturer, which was really cool. I saw some photos from that.
I did not know that. Very interesting. And also shout out to Anna as well. Anna
Yeah.
does a ton behind the scenes, merch included. Oh, new first time chat as well. ASON dad on one. I don't understand. I If you're here watching Mon Out in the morning, I absolutely love you. But some of these usernames, man, are so challenging, and it could be a skill issue on my part, but it's really hard to figure out.
Um, Also, for some reason, do you see the Monad in the Morning logo up in the top? I don't know why it's doing that today.
Doing what? What's it
It
doing?
has a little border around it, which it's never had a border. They updated
Oh,
our software today and changed a bunch of stuff uh, without any warning. So
Interesting. Mirth Mono is trying to trying to figure out how to pronounce Asan Dad on One's name. Asan Dad on One. Mike Webb says it's a skill issue. I don't really know that this is a skill issue. It seems pretty hard for anyone to figure out. So we'll wait and see if Asan Dad on One. Oh, he did kind of clarify. Asan Dadan. Asan Dadan. That's kind of sick, actually.
Wait, it's a son to Dawn, not
Yeah,
a son. I would have gone
Asan
with
Dadan.
a son dad on one.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we got 22 people with us on Twitch. Welcome to Monad in the Morning. It is great to have you here. It is Throughput Thursday. Let's get piped, as the chat is saying. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. The momentum is not slowing down. TVL on Monad with a new all-time high yesterday. I had the DeFi Llama tab open, and for some reason I closed it. Currently sitting at 370.86 million in TVL, which is not bad at all. The numbers continue to go upwards slowly and steadily. Slow and steady wins the race, as we know. And so that's the goal. Just keep chipping away, keep compounding. Obviously Monad is not in the, you know, top one, top two, top three by most metrics currently, but I think, if the first 4 months of mainnet are indicative of anything, it's that, the team at Monad Foundation, the team at Category Labs, teams across the ecosystem and the community are just continuing to chip away and stack wins at a time where there aren't too many wins going on right now in crypto. So, I think if you're here for the ride, that's quite commendable. But there's also a lot to be excited about, and we've got some great guests lined up for today, both on the ecosystem side with Newrails and with Ken from Category Labs. I am super pumped to have Ken on. He is a gigabrain, to say the least.
Yeah, and it'll be exciting. The Category Labs team was kind of in and out with Foundry, and it was cool to kind of touch base with some people. So they did some presentations that were I heard went really well. I didn't get to see much because I was doing interviews. Um, but yeah, it'll be exciting to talk to Ken, and then we have some news that we'll probably be talking about once he comes on. So
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about Category Labs, which I think is kind of a sleeper, definitely a bit underrated, is the from the get go the ability for Category Labs to basically nerd snipe really smart engineers from TradFi or other areas as well. Um, just by nature of the interesting technical problems that are being solved to rebuild the EVM entirely. And so, to give a little TLDR, not TLDR, a little preview on Ken, I guess. Ken is a cracked engineer from TradFi, and he was basically nerd sniped by the cool work that Category Labs was doing. And so I think, not to speak for him, but I think he definitely sees Monad as this future home of trading, and this opportunity to go out and build something net new that doesn't exist previously. And so a lot of the stuff that he tends to find interesting is way over my head. So we're gonna have to ask him to help break it down for us. But I'm excited for him to come on. I think it's going to be a really cool conversation, and Ken is one of many awesome examples of engineers that previously did not work in crypto. I think another example on the Category Labs team is the compiler team there. They have a team of compiler engineers, and that's like what these guys are laser focused on. And so it's just cool, you know, to see the way that crypto is evolving overall and attracting new talent to the space. And I definitely think Category Labs is a front runner due to the interesting nature of the problems that they're solving. This idea of not taking shortcuts and taking probably a more serious approach to blockchain than we've historically seen in the industry. And that's no shade on anyone who's been building in crypto for a while. That's like a great thing. But, it's also exciting to be attracting new talent, new developers, people with interesting and niche experiences.
You're telling me that dog with hat wasn't a serious approach to blockchain?
Well, in a sense, it was. It's certainly no shade. But I think something like the dog having a hat is unlikely to get someone like Ken to leave a career in TradFi
100%.
and say like, "Hey, let's go build the future of trading because the dog has a hat." Um,
Well,
you
well,
know,
I think it's what's something that is actually pretty interesting is like I think we've talked about this a few times is institutions and even like the sentiment around crypto, the word crypto or the word meme coins is like extremely dangerous when you're talking about institutions. Like they are very afraid of that. And even I think you sent me a video pretty recently where they were saying that like anytime you use the word crypto in advertising or even just like um mainstream or kind of retail facing audiences, like it just performs extremely terrible. And I think that just goes to show that sentiment there more so even more recently is like it's turning off people who are maybe even slightly interested, but hearing it in that capacity is just like potentially done more damage than good. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, on one hand, it's like it's kind of encouraging in a sense because it does make you realize that we're still pretty early. Um, on the other hand, it's like, okay, we've got a lot to do in terms of growing up as an industry and actually providing value to everyday people beyond speculation and gambling. And that obviously is interesting to a lot of people, but I think people almost have this idea that gambling in crypto can be even more unfair than something like playing the lottery or going to the casino and playing blackjack, because it feels, at least with the lottery or a casino game, you kind of feel like everyone's on an equal playing field unless you're like some cracked blackjack player or poker player, like you can count cards or you have some advantage like that. But crypto very much so feels like an insider game, I think, to
it,
retail. um,
it's like when you go to a casino, you don't feel like you're PvPing, you feel like it's you against the casino, as opposed to like I feel like crypto is kind of PvP more than anything. Like the casino is making money off of the fees, not the trying to get you to lose.
Maybe a little bit of both, but I mean, yeah, I mean, certainly the
It
point
depends
to
on
which you're.
who you're going with, but
Yeah, yeah, very true. Depends who you're going with, what games you're playing, etc. But I don't know. It's an interesting time overall. We're seeing, more and more institutional interest in crypto at a time where, it's not super hot in terms of the news and the retail sentiment. And even yesterday with the drift hack, these things always tend to have downstream effects. And we're seeing, at least as of yesterday, coin market cap fear and greed index at 31, which is pretty similar to last week, up off of some of the extreme lows we saw around like 11 or 12 last month, I think. But it's definitely a time where I think the market and people in general are pretty skeptical on crypto. And it's a good time to just be heads down, building, chipping away, um, increasing TVL, increasing activity on chain, improving the developer experience, working with early stage teams. And yeah, I mean, we'll see, but we're here to play the long game and having fun in the meantime for sure.
Yeah. In other news, did you hear about Kit Kat?
Yeah, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, they had like over 12 tons of Kit Kats stolen like that just seems like such a crazy heist for that's like a lot of work for Kit Kat.
It sounds like a Disney movie. Like, there's like some animal or something, like some bunny rabbit loves chocolate. And it's like, let's go, rob the Kit Kat truck. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, what do you do with
Right around
12
Easter.
tons of right? Like, what do you do with 12 tons of Kit Kats? Like,
It, I did see
sell them?
Mr. Beast like commented on the tweet, the announcement from Kit Kat, and he just said, I swear it wasn't me.
Why would people think that Mr. Beast would do that
Because
over
he
like
has
a
a
video?
chocolate company. He has a chocolate company.
Oh,
Feastables is like uh over $1 billion company now.
really?
Oh yeah. They also have he partnered with I think it's whatever the links, Jack Links, and they have a beef jerky now. Yeah, I mean it's a well over $1 billion company.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty surprising to me. I mean, that's a pretty big valuation for beef jerky and chocolate. But hey, shout out Mr. Beast, good stuff. Um, Joseph, want to hit a quick intermission before we hop on with Zoe, the CEO of Newrails, which is bringing a new EU regulated stablecoin backed by one-to-one euro reserves to none other than the Monad blockchain. So, really
So
excited to have
just
Zoe on.
just wanted to close the circle or close the loop. Uh, as of early 2025, Feastables or Beast Industries was valued at $5 billion.
Okay, that's pretty
Their
significant.
annual sales is around 250 million.
All right. Hey, shout out Mr. Beast.
That's pretty
Loving those
nuts.
Kit Kats. Pretty nuts indeed.
All right.
Anyhow, let's hit a quick intermission and we'll be right back with Zoe from Newrails.
Um, Give me a second. Everything is now because they just updated. Sick, it's not working.
This is the best intermission ever.
We'll get there.
Joey, great to have you here. For anyone who missed my intro just before the intermission, Zoe is the CEO of Newrails, which has brought a new EU regulated stablecoin backed one to one by Euro reserves to Monad. Zoe, it is awesome to have you here on Monad in the morning today.
Thanks for inviting me, and very happy to be here to share with you about new Rails and what we want to do on Monad. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we have many of the Monad community and ecosystem watching this live, and many more will be seeing clips after the show on Twitter and all of our social platforms. So, would love to give the community a high level overview of your background and also what you're working on at New Rails before we dive into some of the more Monad specific details.
Okay, sure. So, my background, I actually graduated from New York University, and have experience with Binance. So, from 2018 to 2014, 2024, and to grow Binance together with the whole team from basic zero to a big giant in the world. And I built the whole Binance fiat business to be the number one in the world. And also I work at Binance Labs, Binance Fan Token, and also the BNB chain director for 1 year. So accumulated all the experiences, and I was also incubating different projects. And I find like the next trend is the stable coin and payments, and which is actually a combination of my experience. So then we align and had get a team together to work on these stablecoin projects. So that's the background. And the company new what is New Rail? New Rail is a regulated fintech and a stablecoin infrastructure company focused on building the next generation cross-border payments and settlement network. Our mission is actually combined regulated euro banking and stablecoin to build a new payment infrastructure enable instant settlement, and programmable money, and fair global access. So actually, it's not just we issue a stablecoin. There are a lot of stablecoin issuers, but we are really building the business to allow the cross-border merchants and other the real use cases. Yeah.
Awesome. Your experience is really, really cool, having been very much so in the crypto native sphere with a lot of your experience at Binance. And now, kind of bridging between crypto native and some of the more mainstream exciting use cases for crypto in stable coins and payments. And so I'm curious what really got your attention in the stablecoin space that gave you the conviction to go full force.
I think the most important thing is now the global audience actually recognize stablecoin as the real money instead of just crypto. I think there's a huge difference between money and the crypto, because crypto people think more about speculation and everything, but money is like something flow, the flow of the value. So I think when the global, not just like the retail or business, but the whole regulation government recognize, wow, this is a new form of technology and a new form of money that will facilitate the growth of their economy and the whole global growth. I think that's where the ticking point, wow, it's going to be the mainstream instead of, okay, people just going on chain and play DeFi.
Yeah, definitely. And what use cases are you most excited about? What are you hearing or seeing from your customers in terms of like the specific use cases that they're focused on or excited about or really benefiting from on the business side?
On the business side, our main customer at this stage is the cross-border merchants. So, the traditional way, you need to go through the SWIFT transaction, you need to open accounts with the banks, but it's very hard to pass the KYB, KYC. and you want to wire money back, it takes like T+2, T+3 days, and it's expensive. FX markup on that. So it's very inefficient, not good for the global economy. But what we're doing now for them is, hey, we will provide you with Euro bank accounts. But first we open for international users, so not just European users. So international business could open account with us. We'll offer them the Euro bank accounts, and they can use the bank accounts to receive money, sending money, and then they will be able to mint and redeem Euro stablecoin because we're the stablecoin issuer on chain. And then they will go to Monad and do the FX like conversion. So we'll have a pool next week with on Monad with USDC and then with other different stablecoins to enable that. So they will be able to basically with the lowest cost, from their banking they can directly go to other stablecoin, and later we'll provide the accounts in USD or in other stablecoin, and off ramping. So basically, for example, we're building the infrastructure for payment between Hong Kong and Europe, and Latam and Europe, Africa with Europe, and without the traditional payment rail. So that's what really excites us to do, and that's a real use case. And through that, people will save a lot of money and achieve and actually get even more return on the money on chain with Monad.
Give me 1 second. I
Hello,
think I think Danny's internet. So we lost. Give me a second. Sorry, Zoe. Sorry.
no problem. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
can continue to say like basically why we're different from other stablecoin issuers. Like we just not provide, okay, issue stablecoin, redeem stablecoin. We provide a banking system for people, and they can just use and then connect it with the stablecoin and on-chain infrastructure to provide the best return, and also the fastest route with the on-chain FX. And we believe this will be the future, given that basic on-chain it's much cheaper and faster, and as long as legal, the business, traditional business, will adopt it, and we see a trend of they trying and adopting for that. So it's a make a huge difference before, and this is the really where the business go. Yeah,
Awesome. Let me put us on a quick intermission while let me try to bring Danny back in. Give me 1 second.
okay.
I think Danny completely lost internet. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll there's some questions from the chat that we'll just run through if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure,
Let's
that'll be
see. All
great.
right. We got Mirth Mono asks, do stable coins actually need crypto rails, or is the whole point that eventually nobody will even know or care that crypto is underneath it?
I think there will be two type of products facing the clients. The first, crypto serve as the underlying FX engine. So, for example, if I'm a merchant in Hong Kong or Singapore or Latam, actually I want to do business with Europe. I want to I sell something to Europe and I want to receive euro and then going back. What maybe I care is maybe just the euro to Hong Kong dollar or euro to the Brazilian currency. And but then what should I do? Is like I just open accounts with us and we have the euro, and so you will see the euro, for example, Hong Kong dollar directly on your accounts. You don't feel like crypto under beneath, and you can just do the transaction. But underlying, we use crypto to do that. And this is one use case that some clients actually want. The second is actually clients want actually would just want the stable coin. Why? Because as a company treasury perspective, why I should put my money in the fiat accounts? Actually, on chain there will be a higher return for me, and I just can collect money and I use Newrail to mint to URW, for example. Even I become the liquidity provider in the, for example, URW USDC pool, or URW USDT pool, and I earn a high yields on that and return on that. And with other RW infrastructure on chain, I actually can earn higher yields with my money. So those companies actually would love to have this, and then when they need to pay the money, they can directly go to the the payment rail and then pay out or receive. So basically the banking actually become on-chain in a more legal way, and it's the use case. So I don't think this will be like one case or another. Two cases will actually operate in parallel.
Yeah. Next question is from Sa is his name. Why did New Rails choose to launch Europe on Monad?
I think Monad is first the on different perspectives. The first performance, Monad is very fast, very cheap. It's built for the large scale transactions. Is the first, and second, Monad and the ecosystem is very healthy. I like the ecosystem. The team is very supportive. The all the like Monad supporters are very good, and so basically it's growing and help each other. And the for example Raj and the other Mona team, they understand crypto and the payment in a very deep way. So they have the right strategy and the right approach to engage stablecoin issuers like us. And they do not just like ask us, okay, you need high TVL, and they know our purpose is actually for the real use case payments, so they can give provide more resources on those sites, and we can grow together with Mona. So I believe Mona will be a very good payment infrastructure in the world on the like on-chain FX industry with this team and the whole ecosystem. That's the reason we choose Mona.
Awesome. Um, this question comes from Carol. When you mention a banking infra, would that mean also APIs for companies who would like to receive payment in stablecoin, for example?
Yes, definitely. The API is our pipeline to deliver in Q2. And we just launched our Monad in mid March, and we're just like testing. And we will launch liquidity pool next week. And then we will develop the API version for people to do all the services. Definitely, it's very important. We understand this needs, and we're gonna also develop all the tools needed for developers to use URW for their use case building.
Yeah. Um, we heard that you also have plans to do some work on spot dexes as well. What does your DeFi strategy look like?
The DeFi strategy will look like we perform as the uh, underlying assets for DeFi. So basically, we just like other USD stablecoin. We provide the liquidity pool with certain incentives, and also people can given the real use case, there will be the volume, huge volume come in and out, so people can be the LP in the pool, and also we will engage with other DeFi protocols, lending, borrowing, staking, others together, and different DEX to make euro underlying currency on chain with monad. So basically, to increase the value for people to holding or staking euro, and that's our goal. But as because we have license, we're a licensed institution in Europe, so we cannot provide those financial products ourselves. So our goal is definitely put as just like a collateral assets and the basically on-chain currency with other protocols, and then people can earn yields or or actually make money with those transactions on that. Especially for example, if you're a trading firm in Europe, your denominated currency is euro, so and you definitely will need us as one of your currency.
Yeah, so you mentioned being licensed. Have you guys, or I guess, how does regulations play into it? Are there different rules that you're having to deal with across the current different currencies?
Yeah, definitely in Euro, it's very strict, the regulation called MiCA. And basically, we follow a lot of rules. For example, the safeguarding policy, reconciliation policy. So the reserve need to be one to one all time with auditing reports, and the people have to redeem it with zero costs, or very very instant. We need to report to the European Central Bank and also the Lithuanian Central Bank for all the like scenarios and the situation. All the policies need to be very transparent on the website, and to give people confidence. So basically, I think the regulation is very clear and strict, and also just create a barrier for people to enter, but also to make sure only qualified company can do the euro stablecoin, and give more comfort to users who basically had never used crypto before, and be comfortable using stablecoin and try stablecoin to really like broaden the audience for the whole stablecoin and crypto industry. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of your main goal, do you see Euro stablecoins gaining traction in other areas like RWAs, cross-border payments, institutional adoption?
Yeah, definitely. I think now you see like there's like huge amount of transactions going through stablecoin, Visa, Mastercard, and already adopt stablecoin, and other like banking rail. For example, SEPA is just a banking rail in Europe, so already being able to connect with stablecoin through the issuers like us. The same for US and other countries already also start to use that. So the cross-border payments and FX and like engines or like traders, they actually can use that as a route instead of the traditional payment route. And most importantly, I think if you just like, we will start with euro in the USD stablecoin, but in the future we'll definitely will also do together with Monad and introduce more non-USD stablecoin, and to be able to create direct pair between, for example, euro and the JPY, or like euro with Turkish lira, stuff like that. This is very very crucial because in the whole traditional payment industry, all the cross-border payments are in SWIFT, which means for example, if you want to do the transaction between two countries, which like USD is not the main currency, you have to convert to USD into the SWIFT and convert back a lot of times. So that's the reason there will be FX markup on that. And but then with on-chain like liquidity, for example, with two like non-USD stable coins, the whole efficiency and the cost for everyone will be lower, and everyone actually can participate to provide this liquidity and earn the FX fee, basically just like earned by bank in the traditional way. So I think it will be a very good use case and others for that. And definitely we have already onboarded some cross-border merchants are just waiting to use the liquidity on Monad to be able to do their transactions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because one of the questions from the community was says, I'm not sure if she can answer this question, but what are the costs involved? Account fees, transaction fees, FX, if any, compared to traditional banks or pure crypto solutions? It's kind of what you touched on a little bit already.
Okay. So, in the traditional, or like not traditional, but in the regulated world, like we cannot to say the fee is very standard. So we classify business by low, medium, and high risk. So we provide almost free services to low and medium, like risk clients, and so basically the cost you can consider zero or like 0.1. And for all the mint and redeem, we don't charge money, and for now. So basically, it's very cheap. Definitely, high risk clients we charge higher to cover all the risks. And on FX side, we're actually working with market makers now at the final stage. So basically, we will provide basically the smallest slippage as small as possible to able to, because our audience is cross-border merchants, so need to use that. So basically, it will be lower, as like between like 0.5% to 0.1%, the whole cost for them during the conversion, which actually will be improved when the liquidity pool is higher, and also it's already been cheaper and faster than other FX vendors in the traditional world. So I will say our solution compared with traditional ones will be much cheaper and faster when to grow bigger. Yeah, so that's the key. For example, if you consider when you want to from euro to buy Bitcoin or like sell, basically the friction in between is not cheap, and other apps
Yeah.
actually want to do the conversion. It actually costs, I think, like 1%, or like if you're retail. So it's a lot. So actually, we can be able to using this banking infrastructure. So we are directly integrated with Centralink, which basically is the central bank clearing system. So basically, like we can provide the lowest cost. Along the way through the fiat rail to the crypto rail, and also get support on Mona, so the whole rail actually will be able to create in a cheaper and a faster way compared to traditional one, and then gradually encourage the merchants using the new rail, as our name new rail, to actually push the word forward in a new way. Yeah.
Is that the inspiration for your name, Newrail?
Exactly. The new rail is like, okay, we don't want the old rail, we want a new rail
Yeah.
for the payment and movement of money. So like that's how it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, we have a question from Celestial Natty that says, right now the banks are in fight with stablecoin rails over money, things like KYC, AML, and compliance issues and market conditions. How do we reconcile the two and make them work together, or are they going to remain rivals?
I think it's like banks are also adopting like stablecoin. They evaluate the risk and the return. So when we think about this question, we always think about risk and return. So for banks, they think they don't want to adopt stablecoin because the risk is high. The ML risk, as you say, is very high and it's hard to track. And it's very global. So the banks is the cost of their compliance is higher, but with the development of the whole stable industry, also we also put a lot of efforts in the AML side with all the tools we use and the tracking and the risk control and everything. So basically, with that improve, and then it's really harder to just really do the money laundering through stablecoin or illegal activities, and then banks will be more open to that. And during this period, I do want to mention that during this period, actually, some banks will be more innovative and they embrace this, and other banks was no, still no one. But that's like a transition period. Actually, this gives us like payment institution like us the opportunity to get in the innovation and then move the trend like forward. I think with that, and the bank will one day realize, okay, the stablecoin risks is it become lower and lower, so they'll finally accept stablecoins one of the assets or the payment rail. So we're actually moving. moving this trend forward. It's not just done by our company, but a lot of companies are moving this. So I believe gradually the banks will accept this inevitably, because if everyone knows the benefits of on-chain and everything will move on-chain, and bank will be forced to adopt and do. That's the trend. You see, the reason there's
Yeah.
regulation in US, Europe places is like people realize it's unstoppable. Like on-chain trading stuff, it's not like one country say, okay, I don't want this will stop. No, this will still move forward with the global trend. Like AI is a trend, like stablecoin adoption is also a trend. So which means the on-chain competition between different chains, actually payment is the most critical infrastructure layer that I think Mona is paying a lot of attention to, which is very smart. Yeah.
We got Danny calling in from his phone. I'm gonna see if I can bring him in. He lost internet 100% um, at the worst time possible. Let's see. Give me 1 second, Danny.
Hi, Danny. Good to see you
Oh my
again.
goodness. What a whirlwind of a day this is. Sorry to disrupt everything and now switch to mobile. Hopefully you can hear me and see me at least decently.
Yeah,
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 we
we
can
can
hear you.
hear you now. Yeah.
Awesome. I don't want to derail where the conversation has gone since my internet clocked off. So um,
Yeah, I guess one question I had since we were talking about it was, are you having, when you're talking with different partners or people, different banks and stuff like that, are you having to do a lot of educating, or do they seem to understand like how much education and kind of changing the way that they thought about crypto are you having to do versus like they're coming to you saying, all right, we're ready to participate.
There are definitely a lot of educational costs. So that's the reason we also feel a lot of rejections and failures when we face banks. Like we want to have our safeguarding banks. Let banks like say, okay, you're not in our risk appetite, so we don't accept you. But definitely, there are already some banks very open to us and start to accept us. So and we definitely need always like talk to banks and to basically let them know what we're doing, how we control our risks, why this won't be their issue for them, why the risk is not as high as they expect, and why they should adopt. So again, it's back to the risk and the rewards thinking, and we're trying to persuade them there's like higher rewards and less risks. We recognize the risk, but we're trying to control it. And I think now banks with those kind of communication education, they're more and more open to this, especially they see the regulation is more clear, they know it's under control, they know it's regulated, we always have the right amount of money in banks, and with on-chain just one to one. So I think it's getting better and better. But still we need to just like to improve on the AML and the transaction monitoring side to make them more comfortable, and they will be more open to that. uh,
Cool. Um, Danny, I don't know how much you caught. I mean, I imagine you missed most of the conversation. We ran through quite a few questions from the chat, but I don't know if there's I mean, feel free to repeat, but if there's anything that you had, we're coming up on time here, so
yeah, it's hard to know exactly what I've missed. I think it's obviously a really exciting time where it seems like um, crypto and blockchain as an industry more broadly is kind of growing up from this more niche cypherpunk focus, um, very much so like this forward-looking ideal, to now it actually is providing use cases primarily through things like stable coins, and payments to actually solve real world problems, both for everyday consumers as well as businesses as well. And so it's really exciting to hear some of the perspective from Zoe and the Newrails team, because that is such a direct focus. And so, yeah, without maybe double clicking on questions that have already been asked, or topics that have been covered already, I think it's an exciting time, and I think there's a lot to look forward to as well. So I would pose the question to Zoe: what has you excited? Unless this has been covered already, what has you excited in the near term, 2026, in terms of progress or other advancements that you're excited about or hopeful that we're able to make as an industry?
Okay. I think the one of excited is actually really have a very close collaboration with Mona that makes on-chain FX the real FX market in the world. And the payment rail can go through that and can reach to different regions in the world. For example, we as we mentioned, we want to make a payment rail between Europe and Hong Kong with directly the currency pairing on Monad, and instead of going through other traditional rails. So basically, we talk about this a lot, but directly just building the rail between is very important. Like building the rail between euro and the Turkish lira, as I say, or building between Europe and Nigeria euro, and the Nigeria the currency NGN. So and building with the basic other currencies, that's our key to building the corridor, and to let the real use case be successful, that the cross-border merchants who are not crypto users really use the rail, and it really helps them to do the international business with less friction and lower fee and faster. And also have if as long as this achievable, and then the on-chain users, they who provide the liquidity in the liquidity pool, will also have higher return on that, and just share the benefits on the FX engine on Monad. So that would be what's our goal, to reach region by region, end to end, the merchant flow for the cross-border payments, is really what is the most exciting, and it's difficult, but we hope to achieve. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, certainly an exciting time indeed, and very excited about the upcoming progress and the upcoming focus throughout the remainder of the year. It's been awesome to have you on, despite the fact that unfortunately my internet clocked out just as we were getting into the good part of the conversation. So hopefully we can have you back on the show soon, Zoe, and really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting, and very excited to be here, and see you next time.
Sounds like a plan.
We're gonna go to intermission and then we'll be back. Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you. Bye bye.
The video is still playing.
All right, let's go.
Oh my goodness. There we go. Then we lost Danny.
Well, this is just the worst day in terms of technical what the hex. Um,
Shout out
I
to the chat for saving the day on questions because uh yeah. It's like kind of a bit of a scramble.
Yeah, so what happened? I mean, so my internet just died completely. Like my Wi-Fi went out, everything went out. I don't have really good cell service here, so I wasn't able like I was able to, get on directly from my phone, but
Oh, look at and now he's frozen again. Danny. Solsal, you said my face was hilarious. What was wrong with my face? Look at what we're frozen on Danny's face. Somebody clip this. Oh, you're kind of back. Not really.
oh my goodness gracious.
It's an April Fool's episode on April 2nd. Thanks, Mono.
And I am the fool.
uh, wouldn't be a monad in the morning without some technical difficulties. Are you still there, Danny?
Am I here?
Uh, yeah, kinda. We see you're moving around, but your audio is very delayed.
Yeah. I see Monkey Duffy in the chat saying I'm acting like a robot, and Mike Webb saying I look so lost. Guys, I am lost. My internet just keeps turning off randomly.
Danny, are you
Oh my
okay?
goodness. Yeah, I guess. I guess. I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed is all. I missed the entire conversation with Newrails. I am okay. Thank you, Carol. But oh man, what the heck?
Yeah, I was definitely like, I was like, uh-oh, I don't know how to pick up the conversation while also trying to solve the technical difficulties. And there we go. Danny's frozen again. Sailor Nini wants to know if it's real brick behind me. Guess you'll never know. No, it's not. It's like a stick on. It is fake brick. Well, we got Danny who's coming in to the live stream every couple minutes as his internet allows him. He does look super locked in. Chat, what are your thoughts on the conversation uh, with Newrails? Do you guys? Yeah, he's never gonna blink. It is what a screenshot. Um, I guess my question to the chat is like a lot of you probably, and I'm assuming and we lost Danny. Um, a lot of you probably came into crypto uh, trading meme coins or trading coins in general. What are your thoughts on the progression of crypto and Web3 in general? Like, how is your guys' sentiment seeing institutions and things that are not necessarily your kind of degen uses of crypto or casino gambling based things and seeing institutions more adopting this? Because I see like some people, their argument is like crypto was kind of built for anti-institution and things like that. But um, what are your guys' thoughts on seeing more institutional adoption? And yeah, the chat froze as well. Soul, you're trying to understand the question. Raspberry, it seems people have really pivoted away from viewing the crypto as a currency we want and instead as a means to get a lot of fiat. I think the degen part is what blocking Web3 from growing because it doesn't pass any reliability and people are afraid to join. Yeah, I think that's pretty true. I think that's why people like Zoe at Newrails has to do so much educating um, because institutions are not necessarily aware of the use cases or like, yeah, you just think of crypto as a single currency, or a lot of people still think of it as a scam. We need monad cards in airport lounge. All of the recent legislation is definitely very good for crypto. Um, all right, I'm going to put it on another intermission and see if we can get Danny back before we bring on Ken from Category Labs. I don't necessarily want to run the stream and try to interview him at the same time, but who is excited to talk to Ken? Ken, it's interesting because I saw a bit of the presentation that he did during Foundry, and he is a very, very intelligent person and very technical. There's a lot of things that um, I have no idea what he's talking about at all. But I think for the purpose of this conversation, it'll be really we're going to try to not dive too deep and too technical. But hopefully we get Danny back on because Danny is going to regret messing with the Monad community. how long you're back for. Chat, are we gonna launch a
We'll find out.
prediction market on how long Danny is going to be back on stream before he gets kicked?
I mean, I'm getting some pretty lightning speed right now, but I would I would set the line at like, I don't know, a minute,
30
maybe two
seconds.
minutes.
Are we
Yeah.
over or under on 1 minute? Um,
I mean, I don't know, man. I just ran an internet speed test. Your internet connection is very fast. Oh, is it? Because I beg to differ. We'll
I'm in
see.
a
Maybe I'm
I'm in a
back.
garage right now, and my speed test is, let's see. Um, so I was just telling the
Chat, who
chat we
has a
got,
faster
what was your question?
I was gonna say, chat, who do you think has the fastest internet speed? Jessup or
Well, mine's not even launching because of the
I don't
security
know,
on
yeah.
this computer.
You can't run a speed test?
It wasn't, no, it just said server. Oh my goodness.
I'm getting over 200 download now. I uploads at 5, 7, 8, 9. All right, without catching
Very technical. This conversation, we're hoping to maybe are not as technical. But for those who are more intelligent than myself and maybe you, uh, there
definitely
will
me.
there
Definitely
will
me.
be there will be a on April 22nd, we're going to do a special, not necessarily Mod in the morning, but a special stream that will have Ken, and then the week after, another Category Labs team member presenting some extremely technical stuff. There will be more promotion on that, but it'll, for those of you that are technical, it'll be a great opportunity for you to ask questions and directly interface with Ken from Category Labs. So save those technical questions for then, and your service level questions that Danny and I can understand for today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've gotten a little bit of I guess alpha, if you will. It would be alpha if I could like truly understand and internalize the research and the points that Ken's making on a technical level. Um, but we have seen this presentation recently in the studio space for Foundry, and it's quite interesting, I think, to get like kind of the higher level non-technical side, which is candidly the only part that I can really understand. Um, but it's cool to get Ken's perspective on some of like the hard problems that Category Labs is solving behind the scenes and why this is interesting to someone like Ken as a really experienced software engineer coming from the finance space, just like James and Keone, originally came from the traditional finance space and um, applied that expertise, applied that, experience for over 10 years at Jump Trading to then go and build or rebuild, I should say, the entire EVM stack from the ground up. And that is what became Monad. And, it's pretty cool because I've gotten this perspective, and I know you have as well, Jessup, from working at Monad Foundation, that there's a lot of chains out there, but there's not actually too many truly differentiated chains on a technical level. And as Keone has pointed out, like almost every EVM implementation runs Geth or Reth or some of these. similar kind of stacks at the basic level, whereas Monad is really quite unique in the way that it is built entirely from scratch, from the ground up. And it's kind of like, Ethereum perfected in a sense. I've heard Raj use that terminology previously where he's like, Monad is what Ethereum is has always been on track for. And we're seeing that now with like this refocus on the Ethereum side of scaling the L1 itself and kind of pulling back a little bit from the L2 roadmap, at least in the way this was introduced in like 2021 and 2022. And so, I see that certainly as validating for kind of the original thesis for Monad that decentralization matters and security obviously matters. And the EVM has a lot going for it, really through Ethereum and building up these network effects and capturing all this developer interest and capital as well. But the performance aspect was really missing. And the best way to solve the performance aspect while retaining the security and decentralization ethos was really just to build the stack from the ground up and figure out what those technical bottlenecks were on the performance side and optimize for those technical bottlenecks without making trade offs on decentralization or security. And that's where we are today with Monad. That's why there was a 2+ year effort to go build Monad DB from scratch to get around this bottleneck of too much time, um, too many read writes to the database that just slowed down most existing EVM implementations. And that's just one example of the things that Category Labs is working on to increase performance on Monad without making these trade-offs on decentralization or security. And so that's what's exciting to me. It's like you get the best of all worlds on Monad, and maybe Ethereum is able to get there in 5, 10 years or so. But there's a lot of capital in that system, understandably, have to be rather conservative with making changes and uh, whatnot. And so, I think it's pretty strong signal for Monad that this is the way to scale ultimately the EVM chain that will capture most of global activity.
Well, the thing that like excites me too is just seeing how uh Keone, James, Eunice, like they op how they operate and how like passionate they are about this, right? It's like the purpose is to move the EVM, not like build the biggest company. I mean, it's just like they're really they're not cutting corners for the sake of profit. They're like genuinely trying to build something new that has not been done and solve problems. Like Keone loves to solve problems. And I think that's just like really cool to see is like you see the purpose. It's like there's a clear North Star. It's not driven by it's just it's very narrowly focused, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about like, okay, and I tweeted this yesterday. What is Monad described in one word? Or how would you describe Monad if you could only use one word? And the thing that like really sticks in my mind is the seriousness of the project. It's like, you know, Keone, James, Eunice coming into this as co-founders, like clearly understood that this was not going to be a 2 year effort or a 3 year effort where, they build this thing and limp it to mainnet launch and then, that's it. As we've seen with so many projects in the space, it's from the get-go this long-term effort where we know that growth takes time, or rather they knew first that growth takes time. And, you have to chip away as part of a multi-year effort. And that's very much so tied in with the way that incentives and things have gone. It's why you're seeing like TVL, I think, slowly stack as opposed to some other uh, approaches that we've seen in the past where there's extremely heavy incentives up front, a ton of capital comes into the system, there's a lot of really really juicy incentives off the bat, and then you really struggle to sustain that because you're trying to incentivize this growth that isn't really organically there yet. And so like the incentives are extremely important, they have to be there. It's a great way to solve the cold start problem in the early days. But there has to be this balancing of incentives so that the organic growth really has a chance to take off with time. And so I think that's the position that we're currently at. And as much as I wish I got to hear more from Zoe, and I hope we're able to run that segment back soon. Um, it is interesting to see that Monad checks a lot of boxes for some of these institutions and banks and more traditional companies that are now evaluating crypto because it actually improves their bottom line as a business. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see a lot more momentum on that front throughout the course of this year. I know there's a ton of work going on behind the scenes on the BD front at Monad Foundation to help make sure that the right people are aware of the opportunity and value that the Monad network can provide. And this is just one lane, one vertical. It's the one that's hot right now. It's stable coins and payments and RWAs and institutional adoption. But Monad, I think, has a ton of potential still as this general purpose chain, even though that narrative is not super hot right now. Keone tweeted as well last night. What do you say? Hyperliquid is successful because it's transparent, I think was the line. I'll pull up the tweet.
It's
Yes,
I'm
Hyperliquid.
pretty sure it's literally what he said.
Wow, wow, go me, go me. Good memory there. But yeah, I mean
We,
that's true. It's like people want to have visibility and control over their funds, and why wouldn't you? And so if you have a system that can offer that security, that uptime without compromising on performance, then it truly is a better system at the end of the day. And I think as much as it takes time to prove that out, that's, what the market wants. You want efficiency, you want performance, you want better savings, better bottom line for your business. So,
we got Ken on, so I'm gonna replace me here with Ken, and hopefully you don't drop, Danny.
I'm hopeful as well. Let's bring Ken up. Thank you, Joseph.
Hi there.
Ken, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, sir. I'm good. How are you?
I, I am fantastic. I've been battling some internet issues this morning, so I'm hopeful
Hmm.
that we're smooth from here on out. But if I do drop off, well, it's it's nothing personal, but my internet has conked out again, and you will know
Hey,
because I
man.
won't be here.
Yeah. That's I gotta say that's not to bring it back to Monad, but the internet is unreliable, So, if you're on a highly centralized blockchain, maybe not much we can do for you. But if you're on a distributed blockchain, some part of the internet somewhere is working. So Monad stays up. Anyway, how you I'm
Good
here. I had to jump in.
Yeah, yeah, good way to bring it back to Monad for sure. I'm pumped to have you on the stream today. I was watching some of the presentation that you gave, I believe just last week, for some of the founders who were in New York City for the Foundry event, and I know we're going to live stream a similar version of
Mhm.
that for the developer community later this month, but wanted to introduce you to the super fans who tune in live to the Monad in the Morning live stream every week. We call this Throughput Thursday, somewhat of a holiday here in the Monad community. And so, very excited to introduce you to the community on this fine Throughput Thursday. With that, would love to just give a little bit of an overview as to what you work on at Category Labs.
Yeah, so I worked on so you mentioned the presentation I gave last week, and I'll be giving another version of that April 22nd, I believe the date is. And that basically covers all the stuff, the major feature that I worked on since I've been here, which is it's called execution events, but what it's for is it's for real-time streaming data. So Monad's a very fast blockchain. You know, we have a new block proposed every 400 milliseconds, so every zero point 0.4 seconds. That's pretty fast. Um, you know, the first blockchains were much slower, you know, over 10 seconds. So not interactive and not real time. So the performance didn't really matter, or performance engineering didn't really matter when they were building them. So now that we have fast blockchains, and fast blockchains that are capable of hundreds or thousands of TPS, as in our case, you know, if you were to see Monad run at the fastest possible capacity that it can run at, and you needed real-time data, you're not really going to be able to keep up using the traditional like RPC, JSON RPC based methods. You're going to need a special new way of accessing data for really high performance applications. So there's a feature that was worked on by a number of people, myself and a few others, but I was the original designer of it, and I spent most of my time doing just that. Other people had other responsibilities, and that's what the presentation is about. So tune in if you want to learn more. If you want to learn about really high performance systems engineering, we'll talk a little bit about some of what goes into that. It's very general. I made it so that basically anyone could I think follow it, even if you're not super technical. But yeah, that's mostly what I've done since I've been there.
Awesome. Well, there's definitely a good amount to unpack there, but I want to make sure the audience is aware of your background and your story as well. From my understanding, you've done a lot of work in the traditional finance space. So would love to
Yes.
hear a little bit about that and also how you ended up working at Category Labs, what that kind of story was that brought you into the crypto space.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, the funny thing about crypto's sort of like everyone that's in crypto is like it's I've never been to prison, but I feel like when you go to jail, people are like, "What are you in for?" Like, everyone wants to know, like, "How did you get here?" Because it's an interesting industry. It's new, it's vibrant, it's exciting, and everyone has some reason why they're there. So it's always a fun. Like every person you meet's like, "Hey, man, how'd you wind up here?" So I'll tell you the story. So I am a systems programmer. For people that don't know what a systems programmer is, it's a person that generally works on low level code that is close to the kind of bare metal of the machine, like operating systems or device drivers, or databases is in there too. So a lot of people who work in that space end up being hired by HFT firms, because HFT, they want to that's high frequency trading for anyone that might not know. So high frequency trading firms, they want to trade securities in less than a microsecond. So they do all kinds of exotic things to be able to do that. So they have some very hardcore technical people working for them. Um, so that's what I did. And it's fun because usually systems programs are very kind of academic, sort of boring life. But HFT is, it's exhilarating and you make a bunch of money. So that I did that for a long time. And one of the things about these firms is they have this thing where if you leave a firm, you have to go on something called garden leave. So for anyone that doesn't know what garden leave is, they have these non-compete clauses where essentially the deal is if you leave the firm, um, you agree not to work for a competitor for some amount of time, like a year or a year and a half or 2 years. And So you can't get another job doing the same thing you were just doing, but they pay you. So you have a paid non-compete where they pay you this money. It's the reason it's called garden leave. Funny story about this is because like you would garden. Um, like the joke is like you would just stay home and garden. I was telling a younger person, like a Gen Z person, and they thought that they knew what garden leave was. Like, that's where you like just kind of smoke weed all the time, right? The garden was like So no, it's just you could do anything you wanted. Another thing you can do that's interesting and this relevant to the story is you can do what they call double dipping. Whereas if you want to do something that the company does not consider competitive activity, like if you want to become a programmer in a completely different industry, um, they will continue to pay you your old salary, and then the new people will also pay you a salary, and you'll make two salaries. So I was looking for a way to double dip, and there was like I was able to do like some consulting work for various like blockchain projects. And if I hadn't done that, I think like a lot of people who have more traditional careers and who've been, successful in their career generally think like blockchain seems like kind of scary and like I don't know if it's exciting and there's obviously high growth, but it's very volatile. And people would be kind of worried. A more maybe risk averse person might be worried about getting involved in it, and that was definitely me. But then I ended up doing it because of the double dipping garden leave thing. I ended up like learning about blockchains and working for blockchain companies, and I was like, oh, this stuff is pretty cool. And the thing about blockchain is when you're not in it, it feels like oh, that's kind of weird. It's kind of maybe it's a little scary, maybe it's a little scammy. When you're in it, you're like, this is amazing. Like I feel like a sucker for not being in it sooner, because it's a very promising industry. It's a lot of fun. Most industries have already been built. This one hasn't, so you can kind of be a part of that, and it's very exciting and potentially very rewarding, um, both financially and like career wise. You get to do new and interesting things. So that's what I'm in for. So
Interesting. So basically, without the non competes that
Mhm.
exist as this standard in the HFT space, you may never have discovered blockchain from the perspective of, oh, this is something interesting, this is novel, I want to go and work on this. But you did have that opportunity through this kind of double dipping, as you put it,
Mhm.
and then you go and you kind of explore the blockchain space, and it actually seems pretty interesting. And oh wow, here's this potential to contribute to an emerging industry that does seem, maybe a bit risky, but also pretty high potential as well. And
Mhm.
so I'm curious, what, really stuck to you that made Monad particularly exciting as you kind of dipped your toe in the water, did some consulting. Um, how did you end up at Category Labs working on Monad specifically?
The main reason I came to Category is what I learned over the years. So I'm 42. I've been working for a long time, and I learned that when you do technology, people do technology in different ways. There's all different kinds of programming languages. There's all different kinds of problems. There's people that work on databases. There's people that are web programmers. There's people that are video game programmers. What's so interesting about it is like those areas have different cultures too. So like the video game programmers are like their own kind of guy. It's very interesting. Like I'm sure this exists in like musicians and stuff. I'm sure like if you're a jazz musician, you're like maybe a certain kind of person. If you're like like a rapper, you know what I mean? And like they probably talk about each other. So those like cultural divisions exist in technology also. So if you and it affects the way you think about problems and the way you solve problems and the way that you want to do your work. So what I learned over the years is that if you work at a place where um that doesn't match your style, it's like not going to be good. Like you're not going to be very happy. So you want to know that the person that is the leader of the project that makes the technical decisions is like a person that you like their uh you like the technology culture they promote, and you like the style of programming and problem solving that they like. So the reason I joined I didn't really know anything about it, actually. I wasn't deep enough in the blockchain space that I'm like, oh, Monad, that they just did this big capital raise. That's why they were out hiring, is they just done that big capital raise, that big round. Um, but I didn't know anything about that, or I had my budding familiar with blockchains, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's interesting. The reason I wanted to work there was I had as part of the interview process, I had lunch with James and another colleague, and we were just talking about, like, just technology stuff. James and I had worked for this. We didn't know each other there, but we'd worked for the same HFT firm at one point, so we had a common. We were talking about, like, the way the software worked at that firm in ways that it could have been better, and everything he said, I was like, I agree with this guy. This is the guy. Like, if I work for this guy, I'm gonna be a lot happier, than some of the people I worked for in the past. So I thought, like, this guy's he's a good tech, I'm not gonna, like, butt heads with him, and we're gonna be on the same page. And I was like, I want to work for him. It had nothing to do with, like, the story, the larger story, or because I didn't know that. I was totally all in. I would say, I should say, there's one other thing at this time. So I work at Category Labs. You're at Monad Foundation. There was a time in the past when we were one company called Monad Labs. So Keone was still we were all there together, and so Keone did interview me, and I asked him, like, about his vision for the future of blockchains, like, as an industry. And I don't know, I was like totally convinced. When you talk to Keone, man, you're like totally convinced. Like, this guy's got it. So between those two things, I was like, this industry is going to go somewhere. These are the guys that can do it. So I'm in. That was my why Monad.
Yeah, I mean, similar for me. Although I certainly don't have the technical acumen to kind of independently evaluate Monad compared to other stacks, especially in the early days. But it's just that um, the very non-emotional approach, I would describe it, which I think is quite prevalent in HFT. I've heard James say,
Mhm.
like, if you're going to be successful in HFT, you really need to check your emotions at the door. And then the second thing is just the long-term mindset of knowing that new technologies take a while to gain adoption and to truly grow and become this new dominant pillar of whatever system they're trying to replace. And so definitely a common thread there. And I'm curious, as you've gotten, now with a good amount of time under your belt at Category Labs, if what do you think about the differentiation of the Monad vision from a technology perspective, in that there is this affinity for decentralization and security as well as performance, and this
Mhm.
idea of not taking shortcuts and not making unnecessary trade-offs in order to bring all three of those kind of key pillars, which really are the initial value prop and ethos of crypto, to life in a way that can ultimately scale productively.
Yeah, so I think, so the I remember asking somebody, because, like I said, I Monad and certainly Category. What's interesting about it is it's got a lot of people who are domain experts in a particular area, who were doing something else, like consensus research or whatever. You've got, somebody like me that was doing, high performance computing type stuff. Uh, and then there's people who have always been blockchain native. They've been in the space a long time. So there's a range of levels of sophistication about how much they knew about blockchains when they started, and how much they knew about, like, the ecosystem and the larger culture around it. So I had mentioned, I knew less because I was a sort of a new entrant. So I remember sitting at lunch with somebody someday, and I was like, "Oh, how many other, like, L1 how many other L1 blockchains that have like serious performance are EVM compatible? And they said like we're the only one. Like it's just us. So if you want all the three things, if you want, so we'll talk about the L1 L2 thing because it's a very involved technical thing. But if you want an L1 and you want to inherit the compatibility with the wider Ethereum ecosystem, and you want it to be really fast, there's just us. There's other fast blockchains. There's Solana. There's I don't know Aptos and Sui if they're what the performance numbers are. I think it's not quite as high. But then it's a completely different developer tool chain, and it just hasn't made the inroads that the EVM has or the Ethereum has. So um, it's got all three, and that's that's a big deal. I don't know how appreciated that is, but I think in time that will be shown. But we can kind of go back and forth on that if you want to pull on any threads on what might be interesting there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just this idea that like, oh, there's a lot of EVM chains out there, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of performant chains out there. And so I think we as crypto natives, people who have been around blockchain for a while, are very narrowly focused on one thing at a time, or one narrative at a time. And decentralization is typically not viewed as this sexy thing. It only really becomes a conversation when there's one of these unfortunate black swan events. And then,
Mhm.
we get beyond the decentralization conversation when we've had a couple months, or even a year maybe, where we haven't seen one of these blow ups, and then the conversation just shifts to raw performance. And then there's decentralizations out the window, and then you're talking about theoretical TPS numbers in the hundreds of thousands, or co-locating validators. And it's just a lack of this holistic picture that I think you've kind of clearly pointed out, as Monad stands alone, not by one single metric necessarily, but it's the combination of these values that make crypto crypto, with the
Mhm.
performance that's necessary to scale to this global adoption that we've been talking about for 5 to 10 years now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to address the decentralization, the L1, L2 thing, this is a complicated conversation because it has a lot of different facets. It's partially a technical conversation. It's also there's like political implications to it. There's a bit of wisdom about how things tend to work out in life. So it kind of encapsulates two different things. One of the things is if you're concentrated, if you're highly centralized, there's really two things there. It's one, are you all physically in the same place? And the other one is, are you controlled by the same entity? Which is or a small number of entities. And the two are kind of related. And there's kind of a question lurking in the background is, are you subject to the same like laws and government basically? Is there basically a country that is the wider environment that your thing exists entirely inside of, which is almost all organizations in the world are like that. But one thing that's not like that is the internet. So the internet is a truly global thing. There are a lot of countries that try and succeed at censoring the internet, but even in those countries, everyone's got a VPN, man. Like, so the internet is sort of unstoppable. And the idea of crypto is a financial industry that has that property that the internet has. And the further you get away from that design that the internet has, which is just kind of decentralized, like there are a few um, like powerful telecommunications companies involved, but when you start adding up all over the world how many of them there are, nobody really controls it, and it's in everyone's interest to sort of have a hands-off thing, attitude toward it. And it's almost like I don't know if this analogy works because the audience is probably too young, but there used to be something called America Online. It was like like this kind of bulletin board system, and it existed kind of at the same time as the internet. And that's like a thing run by one company that's in America, and it's gone now. Anything that is run by, so in our case, Monad has been developed by the initial software was developed by Category Labs. There's the Monad Foundation, but this is at the beginning, right? There was a time when the internet was like that. There was a time when it was ARPANET, and there was just like a few key places, BBN, um, like there's it's grown way beyond that, and because the protocol had the capability to grow way beyond that. So there's a lot of things when you talk about L1, L2. When somebody says, this is kind of drives me nuts about the conversation online, when somebody says like this L2 can do 100,000 TPS, it's like, okay, so can Visa and MasterCard, so can the man, you wouldn't believe what the stock exchanges could do. Like, so what? Like, the way that you get that performance is by saying, like, okay, there's going to be very strict engineering. It's all going to be in the same data center. It's all going to be. You're not going to get that internet resilience and that internet kind of global integration if you want to have world financial markets. If you want to have world prediction markets. If you want to have world cross country transaction processing, you're not going to get it from the design architecture that created like those systems, which are not even blockchains. So like, what the question that I wonder about kind of in the L2 space is like, okay, but then why is it a blockchain? It's sort of stuck in the middle, right? It's like you have, you know blockchains are a little bit still in this day and age. The programming environment is still new, so it's a little bit weird. There's things you got to adjust to. So like, okay, so you have the thing where it's like a little bit weird, right? But then it's also like not decentralized or distributed. You're missing a lot of the security, so it's kind of stuck in the middle. Like, it seems like there should kind of be two things: the super highly centralized, like this is the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, we're all in one data center in New Jersey, and then it's like, okay, like we're this super distributed, like we are a blockchain. And then like if you combine those two, it's like, what does it do for you to be in the middle? Because you're kind of, maybe I think probably what they believe is we have the attributes of both, and that's great. But then it's like, well, maybe you don't have the attributes of either one. But that's a we'll see how that shakes out. Like that's one of the things. Like, no one really knows what the right answer is, but I'm betting on Monad for the reason that I said is like, I would bet on the internet over America Online. Like, I would bet on um, an ecosystem that has a protocol where it has that capability to be unkillable, be uncensorable. Again, if you look at the real internet, there is some censorship. There is some, but like, it's it functions like a utility in everyday life in a way that no thing that comes from a single vendor can even touch. And we're building a protocol on top of that has the processing capacity to do tens of thousands of TPS per second. Um, and that's the frontier of what you can do while still being highly decentralized. And that we can talk about that, but that's a hard limit that comes from the telecommunications infrastructure of the internet today. If you want to do better than that, you have to be highly centralized.
Yeah, and I think that last point there is where a lot of confusion happens and where a lot of like the ultimate point of what we're doing here kind of gets lost. And that's made even more difficult to evaluate but for someone like myself who's not highly technical, because everyone who's working on a blockchain is talking about this path to decentralization and how, of course, it does take time, which is the truth. It was the case for the internet, it's the case for Monad, it was the case for Ethereum. But how credible is that path? What does that actually look like in practice? I think is where a lot of the confusion happens, because there is this upfront element of trust me, we're going to get there. This is the path. But then when you look at things like, oh yeah, we're able to, run 250,000 TPS, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, where are the nodes? Who has control? Who can build on this system? And then it becomes very telling. So I'm curious, like how you see this evolving for Monad, and where the proof kind of comes in without us even just talking about like, hey, this is the credible
Yeah.
path to scaling.
Yeah. I think I never realized it before, but I think what kind of helps me have some insight into this is the HFT experience, because that's an experience where like you want to trade in like less than a microsecond. So like what are the things you have to do that? Is everybody has to be in the same data center, right? Everyone's together. And it gets to the point where like you care about the exact, like how many meters is the fiber optic cable from like your host to the exchange's host, right? Because if it's a few meters longer, that's actually a few nanoseconds at the speed of light. Speed of light's pretty fast, but these guys care about nanoseconds. So like that's, you ask yourself, when you want a certain degree of performance, you want to design a particular system, what are the constraints that you're going to place on yourself when you say like, well, how fast does it have to be and what capacity does it have to run at? So if you look at like Monad with the 400 millisecond block time, and the 10,000 TPS versus 100,000 TPS, obviously like a lot of the people that work here, they're have worked on some of the most insane performance systems that exist. So like it's not like we don't know how to do it, right? So like why 10,000 TPS, why 400 milliseconds? Because we can easily do more, but then certain certain things about the protocol could not be true, and certain things about what you could guarantee could not be true. So where is the constraint coming from? The constraint is coming from the internet, right? It's like when you are in that private data center talking to NASDAQ, um, you're not on the internet. You're directly plugged into their computers, right? Once you go over the internet, it's like, man, it would be like uh I don't know, like crossing the like going to California in like the 1800s or something, where you like load up the wagon and something. It is like an adventure out there, right? Because when you're on a local network, everything works. There's no one's attacking you. Like, like the service is extremely reliable. When you get out on the general purpose internet, like you were saying, like the stream is choppy, like right now. Like it's 2026. Like we've had this technology since like the 70s, right? It's very, very hard. If you want to have credible decentralization and have the whole world participate in a protocol, you have to go all the way around the world and then back, basically. And the speed of light, fast as it is not that fast. And it's not the speed of light in air, it's the speed of light in fiber, which is like about 2/3 of the speed of light. The speed of light in a vacuum with the c, in the E equals mc squared, right? So it's a little slower, and the distance around the world is pretty fast. You want to talk to the other side of the world and have them respond to you. um there's basically no way you're going to be able to lower the block times past 400 milliseconds, and we have the algorithm absolutely can do it. And James has asked before, like, can we do this? Like, should we lower it? So like you'll notice like things like Arbitrum, they chains like Arbitrum have lower times. Absolutely, we could do it, but once you do that, you're not able to get like like 99% guaranteed participation from all the different geographically distributed validators. And there's still, in terms of geographic distribution, there's still thin distribution in South America. There's still thin distribution in Africa. That's something we would like to see increase. We're, expanding the validator set is definitely on the horizon. So the more you want people to participate across the world, you encounter the global internet, which is, it's amazing and it's decentralized and it's very difficult to censor, and it's unkillable, and it's like it's all that like stuff you want out of shared worldwide infrastructure. But the reliability and the performance constraints are what they are, and that's where the block times and the transaction per second numbers come from. This is basically the best we can do where we can make it very easy to run a node. I run my own personal node, not connected with the company, just as like just to do it. It's very cheap. I rent a server for like, $150 a month. Which, for an individual might be a lot, but if you're a business, it's like zero. It's like 150, it's like nothing. Like, so like you can run a node for nothing and participate, and it's guaranteed that you're gonna get enough peering distribution, you're gonna get the blocks in time. If you want to be lowering that number down to 300 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, 100, it's not going to work anymore. You have to start moving to the model of we're all in the same data center. Once you start moving to the model of we're all in the same data center, important things change. Now you're more like a private company or a coalition of private companies than you are like the internet. Now, what's the staying power of that? You know, like you know, uh, remember when I mean, I think you're a bit younger than me. Like we're coming off the period where like Google was like the giant that controlled everything. But when I was young, Microsoft was that. Microsoft's still around, they're still an amazing company, but like Microsoft was like king of the universe, controlled everything. Before that, it was AT&T and IBM. They barely exist anymore. Like you can't bet on one horse because they can't keep it going. But the internet survives, and internet protocols survive. So HTTP, the hypertext transfer protocol, the web, that survives. So protocols for payment processing and trading, that's something that can survive, but it has to be decentralized to survive the custodianship of a single company, and certainly the geographic thing of a particular data center, um, under the thumb of a particular government. Sorry, I
I
ranted
could
there a little bit.
definitely I could keep talking about this all day for sure. This is super interesting, and I love your perspective. I know we are already slightly over time here, and I want to be mindful of your schedule. But basically, my takeaway is decentralization is a fundamental component of survivorship and longevity. But the
Mhm.
performance needs to be strong enough that the system is usable for the thing that you're trying to get done, whether you're a business, an individual, or I guess somewhere in between. And so the thesis is basically that Monad is the Monad already has is able to offer the highest performance for a truly
Yes.
decentralized system. And that performance will continue to increase as the team at CL and engineers globally work on continuing to optimize various areas of the stack. But this
Mhm.
is, our strongest iron in the fire, if you will, to make both performance and decentralization happen.
Yes, yes. I mean, so Keone describes it as the efficient frontier, which is sort of an academic term from economics, but it's like with the constraints that you have, what is the absolute best you can do, without compromising on something. So if there's a natural trade-off, um, what is the curve? So at every level of the trade-off, at every level of decentralization versus centralization, like what's the best performance you can get? Monad is basically right now and will continue to be, um, the highest performance EVM you can possibly design that can be as decentralized as the internet. Well, what I want to say as decentralized as the internet, like obviously there's billions of people on the internet. So you talk about validators. Validators, I guess, would be roughly analogous to like bigger telecommunications companies. And there's, hundreds to thousands of those, and scaling Monad to thousands of validators, I think is definitely something that will happen eventually. So that's kind of where we sit, is if you place those constraints and say what's the best system you can design that's still EVM compatible. That's what we are today. As the internet improves, or as we maybe think of new things that haven't been discovered yet, and there's a lot of interesting research that Category Labs is doing, we'll continue to move with that, and that will be, I think, our value proposition, going forward.
Awesome. Well, it's super exciting. We'll definitely have to bring you back on again soon, in addition to the upcoming presentation on April 22nd. But Ken, really appreciate you being here today and really appreciate the perspective as well.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great conversation. Time flew by. I had a
The
great time.
chat
So
chat really
I'll let you go back.
really enjoyed it too. So
Oh, I didn't know there was a chat. Cool.
Yeah, we can't
Nice.
see it here on this
Oh,
video
hey
call,
guys.
but they're on Twitch, Twitch and
Oh,
Twitter
nice.
as well. So
Nice.
yeah, thanks very much, Ken. We'll like I said, we'll have to run this back soon. Appreciate the time, and yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks. See you later.
thanks, Ken.
Bye. Bye.
All right,
All
Danny.
I can say is
I would have
I told you.
lost because I would have lost on betting against your internet. Uh,
True,
but
true. We're still up and running. That is a sigh of relief, as they say. But yeah, this was awesome, ton of fun. We definitely got to bring Ken back on the show. It's just such cool
we need to
perspective
bring
as
him.
someone
We
who,
need to get him in off in the studio because I think an IRL episode with Ken, like what an incredibly well spoken person too. I think the chat
yeah,
even pointed that out. Somebody said that he looked like Ryan Gosling.
heck yeah,
No, no,
heck
they
yeah,
said that
yeah.
the
See,
asked where Barbie was.
hey, love it, love it. Yeah, Ken's fantastic. It's a super interesting conversation to have with someone who's really seen this stuff firsthand, works you know on this all day, every day. And so, yeah, April 22nd, we got a great presentation upcoming with Ken, and we'll bring him back on Monad in the morning for sure. Definitely something we're looking to repeat. With other folks that are working on the category lab side, I think they're often behind the scenes, but they have just really cool perspectives, really cool takeaways to offer, and so yeah, excited for that for sure. We don't have the
What
wheel
a,
with us this week. We'll be spinning next week for
and
the
if
chat
you
for
did
the
not,
Clippers.
if we miss you, it's 100% Nini's fault, FYI. Uh, but I
Yes,
did want to,
blame.
but I also did want to mention, like, what a hilarious way to open when you say, why Monad? Why'd you decide to work at Monad? He's like, well, it's like prison.
Yeah, no,
No.
it is very true. There is this like, well, how did you end up here in crypto? Love it, love it. Well, awesome. This was Monad in the Morning, episode 54. Thank you all for weathering the internet issues and all the technical difficulties. Appreciate everyone being here today, and we will catch you next week back in our normal studio. Monad in the Morning, episode 55 coming up hot.
Danny will regret messing with the Monad community.
What did I do?